I went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things, but that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the time, however, it made me realize how much Satako must be suffering. At this very moment, I was appreciating this gentle kindness. Satako might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in the bedroom. Then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satako. We thought if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. But with what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satako was obstinate, and she stubbornly denied the abuse and tried to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then run away. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satako was in danger, then I would do what I had to do. In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see, too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it. Over the phone. Given Satako's personality, she might criticize me if she found out, but I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi Mahabara, would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported it to the public agency, like the Child Consultation Center. What if they took their wait-and-see attitude like they did last year? Last year, they decided to do just that, and the situation improved temporarily. But the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year, it was her uncle. I had just seen him for the first time today, but that man seemed much more direct and much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt. No, not that subtle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discovered from the bruises and such I saw on Satako's body. Shit, you're too naive, Keiichi Mahabara. However heroic it may seem to report what was happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more to guarantee Satako's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed that I hadn't realized it until Ren had said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw-thatched roofs in Haminazawa, it really was big. We did actually have empty rooms. I've never thought that we were affluent, but also never thought that we were poor. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satako. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job come and stay over every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad uses for storage, they could work for her as well. As for food expenses, that might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone pecking at everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, though, that would have to be up to Mom. I would need to convince her to lend Satako more than just a room. Of course, I didn't even think of convincing her of that would be easy. About how much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more thanks to the New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken all that and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it could add up to a lot of money. And if I got that far, Mion and Rena would need to share some of that burden. Of course, that didn't seem like it would work. Rena got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibilities onto others. I'd have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through on it. Oh, but it wouldn't only be food expenses. There were a lot of other things that you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical, and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satako would use for her own clothes. I couldn't think about only food expenses. I needed more money. Hey, wait, Keiichi Marabara, when was this all about money? Even if you could afford it, you would need your parents' permissions first. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a bit, Keiichi Marabara, and you'll realize right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they would tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Mahabara family have to shoulder all of the burden by itself? That's what would happen. That was it. It was very sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything. Are kids... are they really this powerless? I felt frustrated. I believe my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought that they were stronger than Coach's, and yet... At that point, there were 2 knocks at my door, and my mom poked her head inside. Were you awake? I've been calling for you for dinner for a while. Oh, yeah, I'm coming. As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing and the food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I shamelessly thought of it as the responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. But when I realized that natural thing was actually a privilege, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on the table right now, for Dad, for Mom, and for me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place to that table. Think, Keiichi Mahabara. If it was hard to make food for 4, then just think about how hard 4 people could eat food for 3. Wait, yeah. Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that, I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. This is dumb. She should just live here in secret. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, if you climbed out the window, then shimmied down to the first floor roof or the gutter, you could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Satako's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it would have been even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. I'd only have to bring Satako to my house when the public agency said that they would wait and see. In other words, if Satako's uncle continued to be her guardian. If, in such a situation, word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satako back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt. So, I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here. If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents' help would mean a lot, but gotta deceive your allies first, like they always say. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the 2nd floor. The issue was the daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school. It might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. I could easily teach Satako the stuff she learns in her grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. During the day, I would need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around in my room while I was gone, I think. If she holed up herself in my room, it would be okay, right? Keiichi, do you see the massive holes in this plan and how stupid it is? Yet? You'll soon figure it out. If my parents did come, thanks to where the second floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. And there would be a little bit of time before they all got all the way up, I estimated a few seconds, that she would be able to hide herself in the closet. Wait, Keiichi. Something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what'll she do for lunch? Calm down already. I could just leave her my own lunch, couldn't I? I should just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. No, more contradictions or oversights, right? Oh, wait, breakfast and dinner. I could somehow get her to go without breakfast. I can go with 2 meals a day when I sleep in on Sundays, after all. Every night I'd pretend as though I had a bigger appetite and ask for a bigger helping, and then I could just somehow give part of that to Satako? As a test, I stood up from my seat with my plate of fish in my hands. What's wrong, Keiichi? Sit down and eat your food. Well, I'm kinda not in a good mood. Could I eat up in my room? You'll make a mess. Eat dinner at the table. Sorry. Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish and they ganged up on me. In reality, it was impossible for me to smuggle food away without my parents knowing about it. But it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back up there and tried to think about it from Satako's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've got to hide. I opened up the closet. Clatter, clatter. It didn't open quietly. Hey, wait. Didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? What is this? A faulty house? Had it already gotten old or something? Or was I just not putting enough work into it? Could I just plaster it with wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would be able to detect it was happening when they climbed the stairs. But this was an easy problem. I could do something about it. I just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make noise anymore. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as I thought I'd successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. I couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into my closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. I might need to construct some sort of camouflage so that she wouldn't be noticed even if they did open it. But the more she worried about that, the less time she'd actually have to hide, meaning it would be more likely they'd hear a noise. And then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom? I needed to use the toilet, so obvious, and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. I might need to set up a portable toilet, like a chamber pot, I guess. Satako would hate it, so she could go in my room. But the stench would be pretty terrible. Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even coming into the room. The bath was okay, though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out. But I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed that I had been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest. I buried my face in them and tore away at my hair. The more I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things I failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in the cramped space for so long, but if I was to shelter Satako, I would need to force her to feel this pain, to live in such dark, narrow, suffocating place forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle, or so I wanted to think. It got hard to breathe, so I gave in and crawled out of the closet. I looked at the clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. It had felt like so little time, but it was so unbelievably long. When I realized it, I was slammed with a terrible urge to sleep as if the time had only just caught up with me. I didn't have enough strength to fight it, and I fell flat onto my futon. Shit, I just can't go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that'll mean I'm taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I needed to keep worrying about how to rescue Satako for a minute, or even a second longer than everybody else. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought, there were a lot of blind spots in what I'd considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow I would suggest this bold plan to the others. Mion might be able to help somehow, and Rena was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we needed to rescue Satako once again with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satako. The ceiling blurred into view. It was hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. The voices of the cicadas permeating my room were somehow grating to my head. What? Today's not Sunday, is it? I remembered today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness. And then, finally, I leaped out of bed. The clock read a little before 10. It was totally late. When I wandered downstairs, my mom would get mad at me. There was nothing I could do, though. After reviewing the schedule for the school day for a moment, I suitably rearranged the stuff in my bag. I hurried and got dressed and went down the stairs. Huh? There was no sign of my parents anywhere. Maybe they went out somewhere together. So that's how it was. My mother had probably woken me up once this morning, and then I fell back to sleep without remembering it. And my parents, thinking I'd gone to school, left. Something like that probably happened. I went to the front door, and as I expected, it was locked. Looked like I was right. It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. When I realized my parents weren't here, I suddenly felt less like I had to rush to get to school. There was one portion of breakfast left in the dining room, probably mine. The milk they'd poured in it had gone warm since a while ago. When I realized how hard it would be to sneak food for Satako, yesterday I had cried. Well, thinking back on it, food wasn't the only issue in that regard. I wasn't in a position where I could bargain for Satako by myself anyway. It's such a heavy thing to just save a single person. I'd seen this on TV and in comics all the time, those good feel-good words about how you'll save your friends for sure and such. Was that why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that absolutely wasn't true. Because the fact was I couldn't save her. Because I didn't want to think like an adult, like I couldn't do anything but watch. Had Satako gone to school today? I immediately realized that this was a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her, and no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle. Are we so powerless? With a vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put on my shoes and stumbled out the front door. I had only overslept by 2 or 3 hours, but the sunlight and air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came around, you could barely call it morning anymore. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. I needed to ultimately end up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one to get to school. Put it in more positive light, maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. I had to go to school, partly to make sure Satako was safe. But I hadn't come up with any plans yet. Nothing since last night. So the path I took from my house was in the complete opposite direction. If I went this way, I'd pass Rena's house and the dam site. It would be quite a detour. I calculated how long of a detour it would end up being, then, satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Rena had brought me to the dam site a few times. One section of it had turned into an unlawful, oversized garbage dump, and Rena really liked going fishing for junk in there. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl, too. I can think of a few other qualities that she could do without, but whatever. The view quickly opened up wide as I was hit by a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. Maybe it was a good thing I came here, I thought. At the very least, it was more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this instead of my cramped bedroom. I took a deep breath and filled my lungs with the rich, cool air unique to Hanazawa. Ring ring. I turned around reflexively as it was a bicycle bell. Considering where I was standing, I didn't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They'd rang the bell because they wanted something from me. Hey, excuse me. You're from Hanazawa, right? Yes, why? I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. His name was, I think, it was Tomitake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. He would zealously visit Hanazawa every season to take pictures, or so Mion and the others told me, I think. Could you tell me how to get to the Furude Shrine from here? I think I left my map at the inn. I don't know where to go. The shrine from here? I knew where everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was difficult. I was a little irritated at having been bothered for this, but when I realized it meant my detour actually meant something, that feeling faded quickly. I'll tell you, but it's a little difficult to explain. I could bring you there, if you don't mind. Really? I would be in your debt. Thanks a lot. But, are you sure? Don't you have something to do? Tomitake-san finally appeared to have realized how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. I smoothly told him not to worry about it, then turned my back and started walking towards the Furude Shrine. Tomitake-san hurried to turn his bike around and came after me. Sorry. Don't worry, all guys have times when they need to split up from the pack and be lone wolves for a while. What a free-minded freelancer. It was easier for me, too, that he was under that impression. I'm Tomitake, a freelance photographer. I specialize in wild birds and landscapes. I'm still pretty unknown, though. It seemed absurd for him to introduce himself when I was just showing him to the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give mine back. I'm Mahabara. Pleased to meet you, I guess. Mahabara-kun! Pleased to meet you! He seemed like a pretty silly man, but that felt kind of good considering I had been suffocating with worry over Satako all night. Along the way, Tomitake-san spoke at length to me about how precious the nature in Hanazawa was, and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds, despite my not having asked. I wasn't interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I let him do it. These steps will take you up to the shrine grounds. Thank you! You really helped me out. I think I'm a little late. As Tomitake-san mumbled to himself, he left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. I didn't have a watch, but as far as my internal clock could guess, it was still late, a little late in the morning. School wasn't very far from here. Maybe I could kill a little more time until then. With that in mind, I went up the steps in pursuit of Tamatake-san. When I reached the top of the long staircase, I arrived at the wide, open shrine grounds that were too grand-looking for this tiny village. Tamatake-san. Oh, there he is. It looked like he was supposed to be meeting someone here. Then he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. That lady, I knew her. Oh, is that you, Mahabara-kun? Hello there. Are you off from school today? What? Oh, Mahabara-kun, you followed me! I wasn't really planning to. I just wanted to kill some time. Oh my. Arriving at work late like an executive, how refined. You certainly are famous, taking the time to look like a big shot. What? Was I a celebrity? Well, she did say my name out of nowhere anyway. I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous. Oh, you still can't remember my name? This is Mio Takano-san. She works at the village clinic. Mahabara-kun, you seem healthy, so you probably haven't been to the hospital much, have you? Now that we're finally acquaintances, the next time you're sick or anything, I suppose I'll give you a little bit of special treatment. This lady named Takano-san, I kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we'd passed each other on the street a few times, but I was pretty sure this was the first time we'd talked. Well, this is Hamanazawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. I glanced at Takano-san and saw she had a bag and a camera. Are you photography partners? Was that why you were meeting each other? Oh, we're nothing like partners. I am but an amateur, and Jiro-san is gently initiating me into it. Right? That's not it at all. Takano-san is a quick learner. She could take pictures just fine without my guidance. I mean it. I couldn't tell which of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, they were certainly one couple you wouldn't get tired of watching. The festival is finally coming up the day after tomorrow. I hope I can take some good pictures this year. I plan on taking some shots of the setup tomorrow. I wanted to capture the festival's energies shown by the preparations for it too. Oh, I just remembered. There was some village festival called Watanagashi or something the day after tomorrow on Sunday. They hold a service with a pile of old futons in order to give thanks to Hamanazawa's guardian deity, Oshiro-sama, I think. Oh, you are correct. You have quite an extensive knowledge, despite having just moved here. Yes, it is a festival to give thanks to Oshiro-sama. Takano-san smiled somehow meaningfully, but didn't tell me what part of the festival to thank Oshiro-sama needed to be laughed at. Cryptic as ever, Takano-san. But I do wonder what will happen this year. You know what they say, if it happens twice, it'll happen a third time. And it's already happened 4 times. I think there's less evidence that it won't happen a 5th time, don't you think? I knew what they meant by their whispered exchange. On the day of Watanagashi, a freak death always occurs, which people call Oshiro-sama's curse, and a disappearance occurs that people called being demoned away. These strange events had happened 4 years running, and Watanagashi, rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow, marked the 5th. Oshiro-sama puts a curse on the enemies of the village, eh? If it does happen this year, I wonder who'll find themselves at gunpoint. Oh, wait, no, this is Tomataki talking. Ashura-sama puts a curse on the enemies of the village, eh? If it does happen this year, I wonder who will find themselves at gunpoint. Oh, and I always come here to pray and donate money whenever I visit. It won't be me for sure. Oh, is that so? They say that Ashura-sama has been especially harsh on outsiders recently, you know. Mahabara-kun may have only just moved in, but he's a proper member of Hamanazawa. But you, Jiro-san, are a stranger who only comes once a year. I wonder, will he let you go this year? That's harsh! Tomatake-san was the only one with a pained grin, but we were all smiling, me included. Ashura-sama, the one who used to curse and kill people involved with the dam construction project one after the next. The one who used a curse, not used to. He killed the dam construction manager, killed Satako's parents for supporting it, and the next year he even killed her aunt. If the demoning away was part of the curse, then you could add Satoshi to the list of victims. As I thought about it, I realized that in a serial freak deaths incidents, the overwhelming majority had the last name Hujo. Half of the deaths and disappearances had come from the Hujo family. The Hujo family lived here in Hamanazawa. Did that mean Oshiro-sama punished and cursed them particularly harshly because despite that, they had been in favor of the dam? I don't know who's talking. Have you heard the news that Satako's uncle has returned? Oh, yeah, that was me. Takano-san, who had been enjoying a few words with Tomatake-san, was caught unawares by my sudden inquiry. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Satako's parents were killed by the curse, and her aunt, too. So, I was wondering if you went in that order, her uncle would be next? Her aunt had a miserable death from the curse last year, and her uncle let his fear take over and fled into town, right? Oshiro-sama doesn't allow people to try and abandon the village, does he? I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent, but those words, they just flowed out of my mouth without me thinking about it. Right, Oshiro-sama's curse. I didn't believe in something so unrealistic, of course, but the fact that it was that every year unfortunate accidents and incidents happen to the enemies of the village. Like Takano-san said just now, it's happened 4 times. No one could say there wouldn't be a 5th. That is an interesting suggestion. It is true that if you look at those sacrificed in previous years, those named Hujo come up quite frequently. Given how long it's gone for, her uncle being one to die or disappear this year isn't out of the question. Not again, Takano-san! Don't laugh about it. It really could happen. Oh, I'm sorry. But Oshiro-sama's curse is my life's work. Takano-san gave off a mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her life's work was mysterious in its own right. She probably really liked inexplicable supernatural phenomena or something. Takano-san, you seem like you know a lot about Oshiro-sama. Give me your honest thoughts. Given that he's a Hujo and that he's returned, what are the chances that the uncle will fall into the curse? My what? You seem like you really want this uncle of hers dead. That's not... I wonder. It all depends on the whims of God. Mahabara-kun, do you know the true identity of Santa Claus? Huh? I got a strange question all of a sudden, and I couldn't immediately answer. What? You don't know? It's your daddy! The daddy's in everyone's family! What? That's what you meant? Well, of course. Everything ultimately comes down to humans in the end. After all, humans are the only ones living in the world. All strange things could be explainable in terms of human actions. I felt like I put that somewhat strangely, but Takano-san was not as dissatisfied with that reply as I might have guessed. Oh, it's so impressive that you caught on to that at such a young age. You're right. Strange things that happen in the world of men are all caused by man for his own benefit. Mahabara-kun, I'll ask you again then. This time, not Santa Claus, but Oshiro-sama. Do you know anything about who Oshiro-sama is? Takano-san took a step towards me and gazed into my eyes as she asked. Santa Claus was really the parents of everyone's family's children. If lionizing that legend was a corporate tactic to try and profit during Christmas sales, then what was Oshiro-sama really? Oh, didn't you... Wait. Oh, didn't you already say that there are only humans in this... Oh, wait, it's Takano-san. Takano-san's model doesn't change when she talks sometimes, and it's confusing. Oh, didn't you already say there are only humans in this world? Everything can be explained by human actions, right? Mahabara-kun, keep this to yourself, okay? The string of freak deaths incidents attributed to Oshiro-sama's curse. Takano-san's view is that they may have been permeated homicides performed by the people of Hamanazawa and based on some kind of ceremony. No, don't misunderstand me. My life's work is to research things, thoughts, and cultures from the viewpoints of folklorism. I don't really care at all about who the culprit really is. Just keep that in mind, please. I could tell, at least, that she was saying some crazy stuff. If I were to liken her statement to a meal, it would be sort of like she just tried to stuff a whole plate of duck into my mouth and now I couldn't say anything. To understand that in the first place, you have to go all the way back to ancient times when Hamanazawa was called Onigafuchi, or the Demon's Abyss. The transcendents who lived there believed themselves to carry the blood of demons, and so only the half-human. Takano-san, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began to speak of ridiculous matters. Tomitake-san realized she was overawing me. Okay, I have not seen that word before. Overawing? Overawing me and interrupted for me. Takano-san! Takano-san! You can't just chatter on about stuff to Mahabara-kun. Look, he's really confused. Oh my, are you? If you want to hear more, ask me any time. I have heaps of the grotesque stories that the boys your age seem to love hearing. Thank you? I feel like it... I will... For now, I softly and safely gave my refusal. Takano-san seemed a little unhappy that Tomitake-san had rained on her parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Even so, it was still a very interesting story. That Oshiro-sama's curse, which we thought of as a strange freak deaths, were really homicides perpetrated by the people of Hamanazawa. Well, I mean, if you thought about it logically, it would have to be. People wouldn't be dying because of a curse. Someone obviously killing people and making it look like one. Indeed. Wait. I'm gonna say the first one was me talking. Indeed. As for who it was, it might be safer not to try and find out. You seem like you know, Takano-san. You may not have proof, but you seem like you believe it. Oh my, why would you think that? I just kind of felt it vaguely. It didn't seem like her extreme passion for this research could be explained just by these things being taboo or being safe and easy. This person loved walking through the profound forbidden abyss of risks and taboos. Let's leave it at that, Mahabara-kun. I just helped you escape, and now you're trying to talk talk about Oshiro-sama again! I wanted to take a nice walk while it was still cool. Tomitake-san seemed a little disappointed not to be able to go on the date he had planned since I had brought up a weird topic. But right now, there was something I wanted to ask, just for a little bit. And that was about whether Satako's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. If he was, then another miracle would happen, just like last year. A terrible incident would happen again, but it would release Satako from her unfortunate circumstances once more. Well, I do have a few suspicions as to the kind of people who would probably become involved, of course. It's a natural, inevitable conclusion for anyone who's researched the history of Onigafuji Village. Who do you mean? What would I do if I knew? I asked that question to the other me deep inside, but I got no reply. How enthusiastic! What would you do if you knew? Nothing, really. If you found out, you might get into danger yourself, you know. Maybe the 5th year's curse would be you. Takano-san toying with the taboo gave me a devilish, satisfied smile, as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. She was probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like it was going along with her little game one bit. You like to talk pretty big, but you don't really know yourself, do you, Takano-san? I had felt a tinge of irritation at Takano-san's roundabout way of speaking, but those emotions escaped my mouth like water flowing through a strainer. Even I was surprised about how directly I had spoken about what I had felt. Of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback. Oh my. You're something. You may just be a boy, but you can still provoke people. How unexpectedly rugged. I don't dislike people like that, you know. Takano-san's tongue poked out of her mouth, and I was convinced that it was long, thin, and split in the middle like a snake's. Alright, I'll tell you then. But you have to promise me 3 things first. 1, do not regret it no matter what I tell you. 2, do not tell anyone. 3, do not tell anyone I told you. I gulped firmly and nodded. Tomitake-san made an exaggerated expression of distress, gave a dry, vague smile, and lit a cigarette. Please tell me, who is putting this curse on people? Who is it? Who is deciding who gets cursed? And after I said that, I finally realized why I wanted to know. Many of my classmates were playing freely in the schoolyard. A few of them had just ran out into the school buildings after putting on their shoes and tapping their toes to the ground. It looked like they had just finished eating lunch. From a time-manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded. Oh! Wait, I don't know, I'm done. I guess it's just generic girls. Oh, Mahabara-san, are you okay? A few girls noticed me and came running over. It was only natural they were worried. You'd think if someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out the rest of the day. Well, I'm just late for school. Don't worry about it. Anyway, what about Satako? Did she come today? The girls exchanged glances. I saw a thin shadow fall over their faces and knew the answer without needing to hear them reply. Satako was absent today, too. When all was said and done, after being out 3 days, she'd only come back for 1, and now she was out again. Who knew if she would come tomorrow? Yeah. But the teacher said that she got a phone call from Satako-chan. Oh, wait. Yeah, but the teacher said she got a phone call from Satako-chan. She said she had a cold. Chie-sensei said everyone would make sure to rinse their mouths out really well. Wait a minute, Chie-sensei? That's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you just be more sensitive and catch on to the fact that your pupil is sending out an SOS? But, even if she did, there was nothing we could hope for. At most she could do was a home visitation. She didn't have any right to take Satako from her uncle into safety. No matter the result, it would end up like the public agencies with a wait-and-see attitude. It would just piss Satako's uncle off, and her suffering would only grow deeper. Then wasn't saying she had a cold the best option? She's right. Be careful not to catch a cold, got it? You can go now. There's still plenty of time left in lunch break. The girls excitedly scattered into the schoolyard. Oh! Keiichi-kun! Rena was yelling out of the classroom window, waving her hand. A moment later, Mion and Rika-chan poked their heads out, too. We were very worried that even you would be absent today. Thank goodness! You don't seem sick. You look pretty okay. I felt a little uncomfortable with her saying that I didn't look sick, but I didn't care about that. What happened? Overslept? Well, late is late. I think if I said I was late because of a train accident, she'd let it slide. You overslept? Wait. You overslept. Mion was being a bit persistent. Was she going to put her club president cap on and scold me for being late? Well, maybe she didn't have it in for me, so I briefly stated that she was right. There's still more bento! Everyone eat up! Without Keiichi-kun here, we couldn't have had any fun! Satako is still absent, huh? Even Rena, feigning cheerfulness, couldn't stand to hear that, and her face darkened. She called this morning. Apparently she said her cold came back and she was staying home again. She said that she might go on for a little while, too. She must be sad, so we were all talking about going to visit. What are you saying, Rika-chan? Not pleased with Rika-chan wearing a wide smile as though it was a happy occasion, I threw cold water on her. We know best of all that she doesn't have a cold, don't we? Don't ever tell a fib like that again, even as a joke. I'll get mad next time. Rika-chan furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology. It's not just you, Keiichi-kun. It's hard for everyone. I know I'm not the only one worrying, but none of us can do anything either, can we? That's true, but... I got the feeling it would cause another fight if this exchange went on, so I apologized first. Sorry. I'm sorry. So forget about what I just said. It's hard for everyone, right? It must be. It was at least clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams, too. They definitely hadn't stayed up all night thinking so desperately. I know it might not be what you want to hear right now after you get to school, but you were late today, Kei-chan. Did it have anything to do with Satako being absent? Huh? Mion, what are you talking about? Sometimes you act kind of foolhardy, Kei-chan. When both you and her were absent this morning, we seriously thought you might have kidnapped her and hidden her somewhere. Easy for you to say. If I could have, I would have done that last night. None of them had really thought about how difficult that clear-as-day solution was. I was up thinking all night, thinking until night was brightening. And then I concluded that I couldn't do anything of the sort. Don't be dumb. I couldn't hide someone. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize if I upset you. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let's eat some food. I'm starving. I took my bento box out of my bag. Everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit. Mahabara-kun! Did you just get here? And just as I was about to stick my chopsticks in, Chie-sensei came along. Yeah? Sorry for being late. I overslept. What the heck? Even the teacher was giving me that strange look.
When you're finished eating, could you and the president come to the teacher's lounge? There's something I want to talk about.
Probably about Satako, I thought. Since I left it at that and went back into the hallway. Eating lunch can wait. Let's go, Mion. You're right. Mion and I exchanged looks, nodded to each other, and got up.
It's probably about Satako-chan.
No doubts about that. They were saying she had a cold, but everyone in class knew the truth. I didn't think that it wouldn't have reached the teacher's ears by now. I kept playing dumb, so I think she gave up asking me. Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Was that why she hadn't said anything? Or was it because she was Satoko's friend, and she knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home?
What should we do? Maybe we should just use this chance to get a collective opinion.
What do you want to do, Rika-chan?
Me.
Satoko's closest and best friend was Rika-chan. However, much as I pretended to be her Nini, it hadn't come close to the amount of time they'd spent together. So I felt like her opinion should be held in the highest regard. I know why Satako is enduring her uncle's torture. Wait. Oh, that was me talking. Never mind. I know why Satako is enduring her uncle's torture. Everyone looked startled and turned to me. Back then, whenever Satako was abused, she probably cried and hid behind her brother. But Satako thinks that, in the end, that's why her brother ran away.
Who did you hear that from?
The coach, I bet. I nodded quietly. Satako believes her brother will come back if she can withstand the abuse. Maybe that's why she's trying to push through. But that assumption has nothing to do with Satoshi coming back. It hurts to say that about Satako, but it's the truth. Everyone hung their heads. Everyone was thinking of the same thing. Satako probably won't be happy no matter who helps her. She wants to withstand everything with her own strength, but is it really right to respect that? I don't think it is. Even if Satako hates us for a while, I think there will come a time when we need to save her against her will. And I think that time might be now. I told them all about what I saw and how I felt when I went to Satoko's house yesterday.
Keiichi-kun, so you think we should tell someone?
Of course. Only after we're sure that reporting it to the public agency will guarantee her safety. Without being sure of that, it could just get more dangerous for her instead.
It's a difficult problem. You think we can get a definite promise out of the teacher?
I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Rika-chan had her hand raised for a while, as if asking for an opportunity to speak. I will leave it to Keiichi.
What? Is that okay, Rika-chan?
Keiichi is thinking about Satako more than anyone else here. If Keiichi thinks that we need to tell someone, then I have no complaints. Thanks. Mion, Rena, are you okay with this? Mion seemed to hesitate, not knowing if she should agree. But when she saw Rena's firm nod, she made up her mind and did the same. Okay, let's go, Mion.
Right.
Only Chie-sensei was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see the principal anywhere. The schedule on the blackboard under the principal's name said training, going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was too strong. Satoko's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck that he wasn't here. When the teacher saw Mion and I came in, she closed up her curry bento, saving the rest for later.
Sit over there, please.
She told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing the paperwork for transferring in. The two of us sat there uncomfortably before the teacher walked over carrying a notebook and a ballpoint pen and sat in front of us.
Mahabara-kun, you were absent this morning. Did something happen?
I'm sorry, I overslept.
Really?
I have no reason to lie. She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. Now I was sure of it. She wanted to talk about Satako.
In any case, I think you two already know, but your friend Hujo-san has been away frequently lately.
Neither Mion or I had anything to say in response, but the teacher proceeded, not minding.
Would you happen to know anything? There are some people in class spreading bad rumors.
Mion looked down and remained silent, as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. Everyone had made up their minds. They'd be leaving things to me.
Mion-kun? Or you, Mahabara-kun? I won't get mad or anything, okay? If you know something, I just want you to tell me.
Sensei, can we ask you a question first? She must not have anticipated that response. She looked surprised. I don't know what rumors are going around about Satako in class, but if those rumors happen to be true, what would you do, Sensei?
Well, what would I do? If it's true that she's being abused by her uncle, then I can't leave it alone.
Can't leave what alone exactly? What would you do? Sensei's eyebrows shot up. Maybe I'd said it like I was trying to pick a fight.
Mahabara-kun, I am being serious here.
So am I. I'm just also being completely serious right now. Please answer me. Whoops. If it were true, what wouldn't you leave alone? Sensei took a few breaths and began to speak slowly.
First, I would have to visit Hujo-san's house to confirm the situation.
Her uncle might get mad and drive you away, though. Well, okay, let's say you did meet with Satako and her uncle. Then what?
Then I'd ask whether it was true. Once I got the facts, I'd go from there.
Please stop talking vaguely. What exactly would you do? Even despite my tone being so provocative, Chie-sensei bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought then that she was a good teacher. Chie-sensei really did have her students' best interests at heart, but she didn't have the power or the authority to save Satako. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation could get more complex. Sensei folded her arms, and for a few moments she closed her eyes as though mentally concentrating. And then, when they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before.
There's a law called the Child Welfare Law. It clearly states that abuse against children will not be allowed no matter who it is.
So it would seem. Then what?
I'd contact the prefecture's child consultation center. You just said now that I would be turned away, didn't you? Child welfare officers can bring the police with them if the situation demands. They will not submit to intimidation.
How many days would it take before you contact the social worker and submit the paperwork for her to be saved?
It would be the same day. Their job is to guarantee the immediate safety of children.
I know that. If they decide that there is an urgent need. If they didn't, then they'd do the same as you. They'd go from there and just wait and see, right? They'd just watch. It would make Satako's uncle's mood sour, and Satako would be stuck with him there. Kei-chan, that's going a little too far. I'm not lying, am I? Last year, or the year before, whatever, it's exactly what happened when the child welfare people came, isn't it? And what happened then? You and Sensei would know about it a lot better than I would. I had said too much. I didn't need Mion to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure she could save Satako, but I basically told her everything right from the start. Chie-sensei looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's seat.
Hello? Put me through to the extension 3455, please.
Is this okay, Kei-chan? Is this really okay? It was too late. The dice had been cast. Now we could only pray.
Oh, thank you for answering my call. I'm Chie, a licensed teacher at the Haminazawa Branch School. Would Director Watanabe happen to be in the guidance office? Yes, that's right. Something urgent has come up, so I would like to contact the principal as soon as I can. Yes, thank you. Please tell him immediately. Yes, thank you.
The teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back to take a breath like I always did.
I'll ask the two of you again. Are the rumors going around class really true?
Yes. Yesterday I went to Satako's house and I saw for myself how bad it really is.
You can leave the rest to me. I'll definitely do something for Satako-chan.
Something? Please stop saying such ambiguous things. Not something. We have to save her. If they end up deciding to wait and see again, how do you plan on taking responsibility? While I was yelling, the phone rang. Chie-sensei snatched the receiver up first.
Hello? Oh, I apologize for interrupting your training. Yes. Actually, it's about the issue with Satako Hujo-san. Yes.
Sensei waving us away, telling us we could leave now. Mion went to leave, but I held my ground. I had a responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. But if it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, then I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her.
Yes. No, I haven't contacted them yet. Yes. I haven't confirmed it, but it seems pretty bad from what the children are saying.
It's not just pretty bad. Do something about it. Right now! If you're going to report it, then I don't care who you tell. But I swear, if they end up just waiting and watching, I will never forgive you. I yelled angrily at Sensei and the principal on the other end. I wanted to somehow, some way, convey to them just how dangerous her situation was right now.
I understand that. I will tell them as much. Mion-kun, please take Mahabara-kun back to the classroom.
Yes, ma'am. Let's go, Kei-chan. We should leave this to the teachers now. You better promise. Until the very last moment, I glared at Sensei. Chie-sensei was being pressured by the likes of me. Idiot, this isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when you give a firm nod that I'll set my mind at ease. Even so, we've already left things in her hands. At this point, we really can't do anything but pray. Bang. Mion shut the door to the teacher's lounge. The second half was shorter. Article 2, Definition of Child Abuse. The term child abuse means the following acts committed by a custodian, meaning a person who exercises parental authority, a guardian of minor or other persons who is currently engaged in the custody of a child. Hereinafter, the same shall apply against a child, meaning the person who is under 18 years of age. Hereafter, the same shall apply. Assault the child in a manner in a way that will cause or is likely to cause external injury on the body of a child. Engage in indecency against the child. Cause the child to engage in indecency. Substantially reduce the amount of food for the child or abandon and neglect the child for a long period of time in a manner that may interfere with normal development of the child mentally or physically or otherwise maternally fail to perform the duty of a custodian or speak or behave in a manner that would be significantly traumatic to the child. Article 3, Prohibition of Child Abuse. No person shall abuse a child. Law number, Act number 82 of 2000. Authored by the Minister of Health and Welfare. Year 19 whatever. Principal abusers in the cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Mother by blood 2,943, 55%. Mother not by blood 203, 3.8%. Father by blood 1,445, 27%. Father not by blood 488, 9.1%. So basically what this is it's showing that child abuse happens more often by the child's actual parents and not by like secondary parents, like stepfathers, or in this case, relating to Satako, uncles. Year 19 blank. Instances by type of abuse in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Physically abused 2,780, 51.9%. Neglect, abandonment of child 1,728, 32%, 32.3%. Psychological abuse 458, 8.6%. So Satako kind of falls under all three of these. Psychological abuse is kind of yet to be determined, though that's also harder to determine. Forbidden from going to school, 75, 1.4%. Sexual violence, 311, 5.8%. So that one was just some haunting things. Like the fact that Satako was there the entire time, looking sad, was a bit creepy, but yeah, just giving some statistics of what is possibly happening to her, opening up the possibility of her being sexually assaulted by a creepy uncle, which, you know, in shitty situations is entirely possible. The obvious kind of cliffhanger thing is, what did Takano-san tell Keiichi about who either could be behind the Oshiro-sama curse killings, or like who to inquire about her. Like, at this moment, Keiichi knows something we as the audience don't know, which is fairly interesting from a storytelling standpoint, in the fact that the character in the game knows more than we do. We are out of that loop, and it's very interesting that he knows at the moment, but no one else does. So, because that information, especially that information regarding who possibly could be behind the Oshiro-sama killings, as Keiichi himself strongly hinted, he might try to get that person to kill Satako's uncle. Like, he might try and wield the power of Oshiro-sama's curse for his own gain of saving Satako. He's possibly going to do a terrible act or get involved in the terrible act to try and save Satako, though I don't see that entirely not coming back on him and screwing him over. Takano and Tomitake, they kind of don't feel like they fit in this story. Like, they showed up, but I don't really expect to see them again. In terms of, like, just the conclusion of the story, I don't think they're really a part of it. They seem pretty out of the loop sort of deal. Like, other than the fact of Takano potentially giving very important information to Keiichi, they just don't seem like they're going to be in the rest of it. They could very well somehow show up and be a lot more involved, especially if it seems like they're going to redo what they did in the last game, whereas during Watanagashi they're going to try and break into a place, which it kind of seems, because they were at the shrine grounds and Watanagashi is coming up again. Because I feel like the game's reset to around the same time every thing. So it's like a weird time paradox thing. Like each game so far has been set aroundish the same time, and like just different lines of parallel, because the first game went through Watanagashi. The second game was strongly about Watanagashi. Maybe that's because it was named Watanagashi. And this game is, for the most part so far, leading up to Watanagashi, making it seem like Watanagashi is going to be the big climax conclusion of this story, and like stuff that happens on the night, potentially, in terms of killing. Definitely feels like Keiichi wants the uncle to be the victim. Maybe he's going to try and get him that way, as I've stated before. Chie Sensei getting more of a presence, though, because this is the most that Chie Sensei has actually done in any of the stories, or any of the games so far. Her being more involved makes me think she's going to die, which I don't really want Chie Sensei to die. But it makes me kind of think like that. Like there's going to be some kind of fallout. I feel by the end of this story, this one is probably going to end the worst out of all of them in terms of like stuff going really bad. Like, I feel like Satako's probably going to die by the end of this story in a pretty sad and shitty way. Keiichi might also die by the end of this story, but predicting deaths is like, it's like throwing darts at a board with their pictures on it. I mean, it could be anyone at this point, because, taking a cheap death is easy. I'm surprised there hasn't been anything like that so far. It's actually been pretty normal. Like, other than the fact that Satako is potentially being abused by the uncle and shitty things are happening to her, all of that has been mostly off camera in short terms for what this has been so far. So I'm unsure of what exactly the conclusion is going to be, because you need Watanagashi to happen and the ball needs to get rolling, because so far it's just talking. It's all like there's a lot of talking and like, I need to save her, I have these plans, we need to get people involved, I called the child. It's all talk. Like, there's been no action yet. And even when it came close to action by Keiichi going to her house, he was held back from action. He was forced to stay quiet, or, well, as quiet as Keiichi got in that yelling fit. But, like, he was restrained, and everyone's being really restrained and very inactive in this situation. Like, there's an active situation going that's shitty to Satako, and everybody knows it, and everybody wants to do something, but they just can't. And it's been very hands-off so far. The fact that this ends with Chie Sensei calling the principal and being like, yes, we know something. It seems like Chie Sensei is going to start something, which also kind of makes me feel like Chie Sensei is going to be on the initial receiving end of bad shit happening. But I don't know. Owashi-san kind of just is gone. I don't know. He doesn't have his presence that he usually has in the second half of these games, where after he initially shows up, he's in almost every episode to some extent. He hasn't been in the tips as, like, from his police investigating perspective. He's been suspiciously out, though they are getting a lot more characters now, so, I mean, you can't focus on everybody. But, like, Coach is also kind of taking a backseat for a couple episodes, I think. And, or no. Sorry, I haven't recorded in a while, so I kind of
don't entirely remember what happened last episode. That last episode was him going to Sadako's house, so Coach was there, technically. It just... It's very interesting. I also apologize for... I probably sound stuffy by the end. My nose, I don't know. I just sound stuffy. I'm also recording this kind of late. I feel really bad for not getting these episodes out faster, but just shit's happening. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. I'm gonna try to finish this up, though. So, until then, see you all next time. Hopefully sooner than later.